Hello, and welcome to another episode of Deck Musings. So, for this episode, we're in a period where we've just had Odyssey released. The previous block, the Mercadian Mask block, would have rotated out. So we've gone from a standard pool of 1,548 cards to one of 1,272. Now you can see on this table, which is this MTG fandom, the MTG wiki article, I don't really list any tournament decks of any note at this point, and I had a bit of a poke around. Around this time of year, what's going on is you've got a couple of Pro Tours. You've got Pro Tour New Orleans, which was the 2nd to the 4th of 2001, which was actually the Pro Tour was extended for that one for the New Orleans one. And then the next Pro Tour that I found out about, which is Pro Tour San Diego, which was in January, that was an Odyssey format, but it's Rochester draft, and I've had problems with doing an episode on a draft deck before, and just because of the sheer variability of the deck. There was some Grand Prix in between that, in various sort of time frames, I believe. So you've got Hong Kong in November, Atlanta, and then slightly later in November there was Biarritz, so they were all GPs. And then December there was, and I'm probably going to mangle this, Curitiba, and then Las Vegas, Sendai, and Houston. But I was going to try and go and see if there was anything interesting there that was, any tournament that was playing like standard with Odyssey in it, or Odyssey block. It does mention that there were block constructed formats at that point, and this weird thing where Odyssey was released on September the 21st, and there were GP events, I believe, in October that could have featured that. So Vienna, Cape Town, Shizuoka, Montreal and Brisbane as well. So the first chance to play with the new decks. But it actually wasn't legal in standard until November the 1st. So I decided not to dive too deep and took the easy option, because I noticed there was quite an interesting event deck that was released with the set. Did I say event deck? I meant to say theme deck, sorry. Theme deck, which is this Liftoff, which is a white-blue mid-range deck with a threshold theme. And I did notice it had Cephalids in it and Mystics. So I thought, let's have a look at that, because it's certain creature subtypes that I don't think I've had a look at so far. Plus there was a lot of things in here, because again it was clearly focused on Odyssey, that I could talk about, and I wasn't going to repeat myself with cards that were, if I could manage to find a standard deck at that period. Obviously if I'd managed to find a block constructed deck, we would have been okay, because it would have just had Odyssey in it. But I thought I'd go with this. Does mean we're talking about a lot more cards, so this is probably going to run on for quite a while. So here's our deck we have, and let's get it into grid view. So here we go. We have one artifact, which is Skycloud Egg. 2 tap, sacrifice Skycloud Egg, add white blue to mana pool, draw a card. So interesting mana rock in this set. Now we've got 27 creatures. There's lots of 1 and 2 ofs in this deck. Well, it's a theme deck. There is, I think, there is a 3 of here. So what have we got? So we've got a single copy of Angelic Wall. So that's 1 and a white. Let me just check and see. Actually, let me organise this by mana value. That's better. We can see. Yep. Okay, let's do that. To get a better idea of the curve. So, Mystic Penitent, single white, attacking doesn't cause Mystic Penitent to tap. So it has Vigilance, and it has this threshold effect. So, Mystic Penitent gets +1/+1 and has flying. So if you have threshold, you have threshold as long as there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard. So you're trying to get stuff into the graveyard. We've got 1 copy of Angelic Wall, 1 and a white with flying. It's a 0/4. Walls can't attack. We've got Beloved Chaplain, 1 and a white. It's a 1/1. It has protection from creatures. We've got Cephalid Scout, of which there are 2 of those. 1 and a blue with flying. It's a 1/1. 2 and a blue, sacrifice a land, draw a card. We've got Millikin, so 2 to cast. It's a 0/1. Put the top card of your library into your graveyard. Add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool. So that's one way we can be getting cards into the graveyard to trigger threshold. Mystic Visionary, 1 and a white, it's got threshold, and if you manage to hit threshold, then it has flying, it's a 2/1. Cephalid Looter, 2 and a blue, it's a 2/1. Tap, target player draws a card, then discards a card from his or her hand. So yeah, it's got that looting ability. 2 Hallowed Healers, 2 and a white, 1/1, tap to prevent the next 2 damage that will be dealt to target creature or player this turn. Has threshold, tap, prevent the next 4 damage that will be dealt to target creature or player this turn. So if you can manage to trigger threshold, the amount of damage that it can prevent goes up. 1 Mystic Crusader, 2 and 2 white, protection with black and red. Its threshold, it gets +1/+1 and has flying. Nomad Decoy, 2 and a white, tap, and then tap target creature. It's a 1/2. Its threshold for 2, so threshold and 2 and a white, tap 2 target creatures. Pilgrim of Justice, 2 and a white. So we got lots of 3 drops here by the look of things. Yeah. One of these, Pilgrim of Justice, protection of red, sacrifice Pilgrim of Justice. The next time a red sorcerer of your choice would deal damage this turn, prevent that damage. 1 copy of Puppeteer, 2 and a blue, it's 1/2, blue, tap target, 1 tap target creature. Blessed Orator, 3 and a white, other creatures you control get +0/+1, and it's a 1/4. Cephalid Broker, 3 and a blue, it's a 2/2, tap target creature, draws 2 cards, then discards 2 cards from his or her hand. Cephalid Retainer, 2 and 2 blue, it's a 2/3, for 2, tap target creature without flying. So there's a number of creatures here that will tap stuff down, but remember these are all 1/ofs and 2/ofs. We got 3 Mystic Zealots, 3 and 2 white, has threshold, so if you make threshold you get +1/+1 and has flying for the Mystic Zealot. It's 2/4. And an Aven Windreader is 3 and 2 blue. There's 2 of these. It's a 3/3, has flying, and 1 of the blue, target player reveals the top card of his or her library. There's 5 enchantments. There's 3 Kirtar's Desire, single white, enchanted creature can't attack. Threshold, enchanted creature can't block. So it's just, sort of that pacifism style type of white card. We've got 2 think tanks, 2 and a blue at the beginning of your upkeep. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. So that's obviously a threshold facilitator. Then we've got 6th instance, 1 peak, single blue. Look at the target player's hand, draw a card. 2 syncopates, draw a card. Draw a card. 2 syncopates, X and a blue. Counter target spell unless its controller pays X. If that spell is countered this way, remove it from the game instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Shelter, 2 and a white. Target creature you control gains protection for the colour of your choice until end of turn. Draw a card. Embolden. So we've got quite a number of one-offs here. Embolden. Prevent the next 4 damage that will be dealt this turn, or any number of creatures, target creatures or players divided as you choose. Flashback 1 and a white. So flashback's in the set. So you may play this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, then remove it from the game. And we have a second thoughts, which is 4 and a white. Remove target attacking creature from the game. Draw a card. 21 lands. So 1 Abandoned Outpost. It comes into play tapped. It taps to add white to your mana pool. You can sack it and it'll add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. We've got 9 islands, 10 plains, and then a Seafloor Debris, which is the blue version of this particular cycle, of which Abandoned Outpost is part of. So it does the same thing as Abandoned Outpost, but for blue. And again, if you sack it, it adds 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. There's no sideboard here because it's a theme deck. So let's dive in. Do the most important thing first, which is the plains, first of all. So there's our lovely plains artwork. Particularly like this here. This is also an interesting style. And then our islands. Like this. Actually. But again, yeah, interesting lands in this set. So yeah, because this was a large set, first set of the block, this is where the printings of the basic lands are. Here's our Abandoned Outpost, only ever printed in Odyssey. As I've said previous, this was a cycle of Odyssey sack lands. Very nice artwork there. And then, its sort of other tag here is sacrifice self, which is a thing we've looked at before. So I don't think I'm going to spend a lot of time looking at that to avoid repeating myself from a previous episode. Same with Seafloor Debris. You can see, part of the sackland cycle. You can see there's also these inherited effects. So there's a number, throughout Magic's history, there are a number of mono-coloured land cycles. And let's just see how far they go back. Obviously, there would be the islands there, and the basic lands, because that counts as a mono land cycle. But I'm curious as about when did we see outside of that the first time those mono-coloured land appear. So let's do his first printing. And actually remember this time to paste that, because I use that obviously quite a bit when we're looking back in history. Okay, there we go. So legends. Now, some of these generate a single colour of mana, and then the additional feature also generates mana of the same colour, but just more of it. But and then other things like some cycle. But you'll notice with these particular lands, they also have the capacity to produce mana of any colour. So I'm trying to think beyond Odyssey. So where are we? You can see we've got some threshold lands here as well from the set, which were the uncommons from the set. More cycle lands over from Onslaught. I'm just seeing if there's been any lands where they, the regular thing is for them to produce a mono colour, and then like these lands, the the other ability allows you to produce mana of any colour. I'm not really seeing that. A lot of these are like monocolour utility lands. Interesting. Yeah, so it's concerning a cycle. Yeah, not really something I'm seeing there. So, yeah. Interesting in that respect. Let me just double check that. Okay, so that's because of any number of storage lands. And these are all the same colour. Yeah, so yeah, interesting. So yeah, Odyssey lands don't appear to be the only lands that have, monocolour lands that have done that. Okay. Angelic Wall. It's been reprinted a few times. It's cropped up a couple of times in core sets. There's also never been restored. So did that? Yeah, came out in I nearly said Portland. Portal Second Age. Okay. Nice. So any interesting tag? Well, just a French vanilla, but I am curious about, as a result, flying walls. So Oracle, flying, and then we'll go type of, it's a wall. Walls can't attack. And did I remember to copy it in? I did. There we go. 20 cards that fall into that category. Oh yes, Wall of Swords, Wall of Air. Wow. There's our Angelic Wall. Wall of Shards. Got a few Wall-ofs here. So really white and blue. So odd things like this green one, Mindbender Spores, and Whipvine as well. Oh, this is interesting. Snow Fortress. 5 to cast, 0/4. Counts as a wall. Okay. Illusionary Wall. Wow, there's a 7/4 wall there. Oh, there does have cumulative upkeep. I don't think... Where we got? Mana value. Yeah. There's no like 1-drop flying walls. So okay. Aven Windreader. Target player reveals a top card in library. Does that have a name? Oh, Spy Library, cool. One. There's just one with that tag. Oh, that's amusing. Okay, let me just come in here. So what do I want to do here? Let's just see in Magic's history like what that maybe. I don't know if we've ever had that where the tag just refers to a single card. You can see here it's cropped up a few times in, just a couple of times in a core set. Let me just paste this in and decide what I want to do. Okay. just do. So we're going to do target player. I'll just split this up a bit. Reveals library, something like that. And then this first printing. It's not, just had an idea. Just going to put some things to copy paste in there. Okay. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I can't do that, can I? Have to do... Let me just go back here. And I made a mess up there. Actually, I shouldn't need to do that because it's automatically and anyway. Maybe I made a mistake there. I should reread the query. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so 14 cards where we've got this sort of spy effect. So what does that make that fairly? Is that the only... Yeah, so the others have like where there's a creature, they have an ETB effect. Interesting. And of course you can target yourself. Okay. Beloved Chaplain. Protection from creatures. Okay. Evasion. Amaru Kithkin. Can't be blocked by creature power 3. So in Magic, how widespread is protection from creatures? That sounds like a sort of bit of a fun police thing, really, doesn't it? I mean, I don't think it's the sort of thing you'd want cropping up that much. So 10, that was it. I remember that, well, I couldn't remember what card it was, but Commander Isha was one that was on. I didn't know there was a legend somewhere. Oh yeah, Tessa has it as well, doesn't she? That's right. Okay, moving on. Lots of interesting stuff here we've not seen before. Other creatures can get +0/+1. So that is... Yeah, it's not actually, again, there's no specific tag for that thing. It's fairly common, but there's a number of cards that do this sort of +0/+1 buff. And so I am interested in that in Magic, because I notice it's other creatures you control. So let's compare and contrast. So we are being super specific here, that's the only thing. Yeah, Veteran Armourer was the one I was trying to think of, actually. And there's two, isn't there? So if you sort of compare it, say, with that, that's a bit more of a thing. But isn't there a... Oh, I thought there was another Armourer that... Okay. I must be mistaken. So that's for other creatures. So there's our... Just put that so we can see. Yeah, there's our Blessed Orator. We've got Drogskull Shieldmate with Flash. So this is 3 and a white for a 1/4. This is 2 and a white for a 2/3. And then Veteran Armourer is 1 and a white for 2/2. Now if we do this, okay, so we'll make a mental note. So 3 cards previously. For this it's 24, and that would include those cards. So let's just see what happens if we net off that. Hopefully we'll get down to 21 if that works. So I'm going to do other. 13, that's interesting. There must be other in there in a different context. So that's why I didn't want to do that straight away. Okay. Oh, there we go. So other warrior creatures. Okay, so very specific. Okay, that's interesting. Other spirit creatures. So again, chronologically, what do we learn? Anything more? Funny. Cobble Drill Sergeant, 1 and a red. Your cobbles gain +0, +1 and trample. Oh, there's Parapet, of course, yeah. So it's funny it isn't in there as a well, I suppose that's all creatures, yeah. I suppose you can't really call it like a parapet effect as a tag. And obviously you've got things like sticking it on a enchantment as well. Oh yeah, Lumithrid Field. It's probably, yeah, the cards which don't specifically say other. And that, yeah, that was the one I was trying to remember. So you've got Veteran Armourer does other creatures. Veteran Armoursmith does other soldiers. I knew there were 2 with similar names, or a similarity of the name in the, like a commonality in the name. And then probably you'll be no surprise. I mean, this whole thing of buffing, you know, there's a lot of it, and you might see it where there's particular ones for certain creature subtypes as well. I mean, if you're just looking at, if we were to just focus in on creatures. I'm really enjoying this today. There's a lot of... This is one of the nice things about doing theme decks from a particular period is you get these cards which you probably never see again, or or certainly cards we've not seen so far. It's a nice little collection, isn't it? Jacques Levert, this old style stuff from Legends always brings a smile to my face. How much is that? Oh yeah, that's the problem where these were never reprinted in Chronicles, so you don't really have a cheaper alternative. Do I have a copy of... I don't know if I have a copy of Caser, I don't think so. I did go through a period of tracking down some early legendaries for a sort of project I was dabbling around with, which was never came to fruition. It was based on that really early article in the Duelist, which was sort of pre-Commander, also a pre-EDH article. There was a multiplayer format it talked about, and I was sort of curious, so I started to just randomly buy a few singles from early in Magic's history that I thought would be interesting, but I can't remember if I've got a Caser or not actually. Anyway, before we go down an even bigger rabbit hole, let's move on. So yeah, Cephalid here. Yeah, not really reprint. I mean, it turned up in Iconic Masters, and this one where you've got target player draws 2 cards and discards 2 cards from his or her hand. You can see how in certain decks that's interesting. So, but it's only ever been done in this Iconic Master. And I think this is a bit of a weird set anyway in terms of what ended up in there. Like what was an iconic card. Looting ability, looting and rummage. I think we've looked at looting before. You can see it does come up quite a bit. Let's just look at it historically. Yeah, I can see there because it's coming up with autocomplete. I deliberately never clear the autocomplete cache on here so that I know where I've talked about things before in previous episodes, so I don't consistently week in week out talk about the same things. But if you've not watched any of my previous episodes, let's just have a quick look and so you can see how far that goes back. That's funny. What was that reprinted? Oh, is it actually in... Oh, that would be online, wouldn't it? So yeah, these would be online. Vintage Masters and Masters Edition. So only ever turned up in Portal and that starter product. That's funny. There's a fun card to play. So the starter project, you'll notice that the difference in the Portal ones here, this additional reminder that this is, power, this is attack, and this is toughness, this is sort of defense, if you like. But they did move it to more the regular Magic format for the starter 1999 decks. These are things I don't talk about that much. I'm thinking about once I've got up, back up to a point where I'm repeating myself a little bit with these set musings. It's probably going to happen. With these deck musings, it's likely to happen probably around about, I don't know, the time of Lawwind, simply because I sort of lose the synchronicity with the sets for the artwork video. But I want to loop back and look at some pre-cons at some point for these sort of for these deck musings. Beyond just the theme decks, because otherwise I'm going to be repeating myself with certain things. But yeah, I wouldn't mind going through and looking at some of these like non-theme deck pre-cons as well, so we'll see. It's Cephalid Looter, so I imagine tagged as a looter. Also similar to Reckless Scholar. Target player draws a card, then discards a card. Cephalid Retainer taps a target creature without flying. So yeah, tap a creature, mana sink. It's Flood with a body, but of course Flood is a permanent. So single blue for that. This is 2 and 2 blue. So for the 2/3 body, you're playing what, 2 and a blue extra. Similar to Merfolk Sea Stalkers. So I'm assuming, I mean, again, I'm guessing here. I suppose one of the reasons why Cephalid specifically you don't see a lot of, I imagine a lot of what they do is duplicated in, say, Merfolk. So yeah, but I might be wrong there. That's just off the top of my head thinking about it. And tapper creatures, yeah, 544 in Magic's history. If I look at first printings, interesting, I didn't get it. It didn't auto-complete there, which is odd. I thought I'd talked a bit about tapper creatures before. Oh yeah, Twiddle. Let's actually just think about creatures that do it rather than any card. And well, whether or not a lot of them, you'll notice you have to sort of tap themselves. I'm just curious if anyone's just do it as a mana sink without tapping themselves. I mean, that would be potentially stupidly powerful if you had like a excess amount of mana. So I'm just looking to see what we've got here. So this does, but it's quite, again, it's another Cephalid. So 3 blue, you get to tap all creatures without flying. So it's, yeah, it looks like, unless it's super specific. I'm just seeing here. Yeah, it tends to be some additional condition. Anywhere where it's just tap a target creature. I haven't noticed yet one where you can just invest mana and you don't have to tap it. Oh, that one, the Guild Mage, 2 and a white does it, but it's quite a big investment. In terms of the tappers that tap themselves as well as part of the activation cost, yeah, you'll probably recognise quite a few here. Certainly if you play, like blue-white flyers quite a bit, there's a lot of like lower cost creatures that, you might put in that sort of deck to just gum up the board or just to, mess with your opponent's ability to attack early on in the game until you get to such a point where you can get your flyers out. So often, those tappers turn up in those sort of decks because they can often be, like single white, 1/1, and then, in this case, 1 and a white tap a target creature. So Decoy, which was way back here. That's one of the earlier ones, isn't it? Yeah, Master Decoy. Okay, so 1 and a white. Right, moving on. Cephalid Scout. Another one that's only in Odyssey. Yeah, if you want to go down the Cephalid tribal route, generally the Cephalids seem to be fairly reasonably priced, very low price. Sacrifice outlet land. I think that's something we have looked at before. You can't play lands. Funny. Yeah, done that. Done that. Let's try and avoid repeating myself. Evasion, draw, creature type. What do I want to talk about here? Flying 2-drops. Cards that have a blue dress on them. Okay, cards that feature Cephalids. That's 75. So, what have we got? So I started out in Odyssey. I'm assuming there were no Cephalid creatures that didn't feature a Cephalid, but we'll look at that in a moment. Oh, there's Cephalid Colosseum. Yeah, so that's that cycle of uncommons in the set. So what have we got? Torment, which we'll be getting on to. Oh yeah, look at how many in Torment have Cephalids in the artwork. And then we have Judgment, Onslaught. Yeah, because I forget Riptide Replicator has Cephalid in it. What's the most recent one? Rocco Street Chief. Is there one lurking over here maybe? So if I now do type, whoops, would have if I remembered that. Okay, 28 Cephalids in Magic. So yeah, starting off in Odyssey, moves through Torment, into Judgment, into one in Onslaught, one in Legions, and we did have some here. Streets of New Capenia. Okay. I'm just curious there. New Capenia Commander. Okay. And then up to date. Yeah, so that was a thing more recently. Okay, good to know. Right. Moving on to Hallowed Healer. So yeah, here we have this healing effect on here, which is further enhanced by Threshold. It's interesting as well, isn't it, with this deck, there doesn't seem to be a lot of stuff getting things in the graveyard, so they're just getting there, I suppose, through combat damage. You know, what we do have that does that, there's not many copies of in the deck, so yeah. Damage prevention, alliteration, damage prevention, yeah. It's been kicking around for a long time. As of, well, yeah, the circle of protections, of course. On a creature, I mean, would camel be the... Okay, personal incarnation. So yeah, we got redirection. And then, yeah, Samite Healer. And things like Rock Hydra. So this is from, you know, way back. Oh yeah, the... And legends, we got a couple of walls there. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Legend era legends, don't they make you smile? And so again, some of these got reprinted in Chronicles, so if you want to mess around with these cheaply, there is a way for some of these, but not all of them, unfortunately. Oh, this one, Homelands, there you go, 42 cents. I think I do have a copy of that. Yeah. Oh, and then we have Daughter of Autumn, of course. Yeah, the Homeland stuff. Yeah, not very expensive. Tender Duck Line. Oh yeah, there's the Soltari Gorillas as well. Cho Mano, yeah. That was a happy sigh. Not these are particularly cards I'd play, but I don't know, there's something about them. They always seem to... I always just remember them. I mean, some obviously I do gravitate towards, like Showmano, but it's just, yeah, so many of these I see the cards and I just remember seeing them from pack openings or other things like, you know, Vigor and Hostility. Oh yeah, because Guard Gomizoa. I remember that from yeah, Rise of the Eldrazi. Okay. And it's Gisela. Oh, I'm glad I did go down this rabbit hole. You got Law Unicorn and Kronos Unchained. Oh, Frodo. Right, let's move on. Oh, Millikin. Yeah, Millikin. Was reprinted in... It's cropped up interesting, isn't it? Like it was reprinted for Eternal Masters, the Mystery Booster, Modern Horizons, and Domineria remastered. So big gap, and then suddenly, oh, we should reprint this. Yeah, so yeah, Miller card. So this is one way we're gonna get to threshold, but if you remember, there's not many copies of this in the deck. But it is an interesting card because, you know, it's you know, a sort of, you know, reanimator facilitator. That's a good word, reanimator facilitator. Mill self, similar to deranged assistant. And of course, what's nice is you get the mana as well. Puny name, mill safe, mill self, and it's a mana dork. So yeah, obviously a number of mill self cards. Way back to Bone Mask. That was a damage prevention. Remove the top card of your library from the game. Okay, maybe not. There's Wheatstone. So some of these are, you know, like an asymmetric mill. You're both milling yourself and everybody else as well. I'll see a few Cephalids here. That one's got a shred counter. Obviously a Cephalid thing. Right, Mystic Crusader. Protection of black and red with threshold. Yeah, so a lot of, you know, we've looked at a lot of these protection from cards in the past. And this whole gains flying thing as well is something that you see quite a bit in Magic. I'm trying to think of the name of the enchantment that does it. Where's it gone? And you'll probably recognise quite a few cards here where, you know, it's activated ability on a creature like Morphling. I think I said before, I really like these cards which have like about 5 or 6 abilities on them. Yeah, you always see them occasionally. But then there's cards like this in blue, these sort of fledgling type cards which don't inherently fly, but, you know, by doing something they gain flying. Oh, there's Questing Feldegriff. I keep forgetting, of course, Chromat has that on it as well. This is a really interesting, if you wanted just a 5-colour utility commander to just play around with 5-colour good stuff. I think this is always quite fun to take a look at. How much is one of those now? Yeah, 380. And then you got things like Putrid Imp. This, of course, had threshold on it as well. So rather than me go through all of these, let's just do what I wanted to do originally. So we'll do type enchantment and see if I can find the enchantment I'm thinking of. Let me just do flying, obviously not under that tag. So we do have flight is 1, 240 cards. Soar, launch, yeah, and I'll do mono blue, narrow it down a little bit. There's another interesting card with these like different abilities that you can stack. And of course, for Fable of Wall and Elf. Wool? Fable of Wolf and Owl. Dear me. Drake Umbra. Oh, Zephyr Charge. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Lots of different variations that do compound things here. See. Is it Levitation? Oh yeah, that's it. That's what I'm getting confused. Levitation does all creatures you control. Yeah. That's what I was trying to think of. So, Mystic Penitent. Taking creatures does not cause Mystic Penitent. So it has Vigilance and Threshold. So, yep, gains flying as a result. Which we've already seen. 1/1 for 1. I wonder if there's anything. Okay, well, let's just look. What's the most expensive? really clutching at straws here. So, power 1, toughness 1, and CMC of 1. So when I say expensive, I'm meaning like in terms of if you wanted to buy it. So power, toughness, like 1/1 for 1. Okay, right. So if I now do this by, so the full version ordered by price in US dollars and descending. So a Zodiac Rat will fetch you back $30. This is a 1/1 for 1 with Swamp Walk, and well, apart from Magic Online promos, it was only ever in Portal 3 Kingdoms. Has there been a functional reprint of that though? Oh, Plague Beetle. Yeah. Marsh Goblins, better than, but worse than a Quag Vampire, because that had multi-kicker on it. There was actually a cycle of Zodiac creatures as well, if you're curious. Yeah, so there's our Zodiac Rat. What else have we got? Oh, Esper Sentinel. Allosaurus Shepherd. So you can see, yeah, these are quite feature-packed. And then Sarah Ascendant, which is this 1/1 for 1, but has lifelink, and if you have 30 or more life, it's a +5/+5. Oh, there's a Zodiac Rabbit, Firebowman. So some of these are in here because they were only ever printed in Portal 3 Kingdoms as well. So but I'm wondering if, again, any of these have functional reprints. It's worse than Mog Fanatic. Yeah, there you go. And equivalent to a Goblin Firestarter, which was in Portal 2nd Age. Okay. Mystic Visionary, another Threshold, 2/1, 1 and a... Yes, you can see a lot of these. once you start getting that threshold, then they're going to fly. Yeah, see another one there. So just, yeah, a lot of these cards seem to have a similar threshold effect. They're just on a different point in the curve, so different power toughness. And some of them just have flying, they gain, some have a +1/+1 or vice versa. We've got Nomad Decoy, so this is a tapper, but you get to tap more stuff if you hit threshold. So yeah, we've already had a look at that. So again, just a different point on the curve from the previous one. Oh, there's damage prevention. Protection from red. It's a mirror of Pilgrim of Virtue, which has protection from black. Same effect. Martyr effect. So this is where a creature sacrifices themselves for a benefit. And let's just look and see. Yeah, we have a look at this before. So let's just put it in order so we can remind ourselves of historically when this was first seen in Magic. Yeah, Tempest to Freet. So way back from Legends time. Another one that makes me... There's some of the expressions on the people of these cards. Like the Timber Fiends one as well that comes up is always amusing. But you can see here there's a few of these thralls which have this type of effect on them. There's a number of thralls which you sack and you get some... Oh, there's our friends, Timber Fiends. What episode would not be complete without an appearance from Ted and George, whatever their names are. Right. Oh, actually, no. I was going to say here. Yeah, these. I don't know if everyone remembers these. I do have these, I think. Whenever we were looking at visions, these Chimera. So they're all 4 to cast. But you can put the counters on another target Chimera. Yeah, some of these the people featured here have very amusing expressions on their faces. Right. Puppeteer. Okay, reprinted a few times, but again, this, yeah. And here again, you know, tap or untap. That's a fun thing to have on a card. It's this, you know, this twiddle effect, which we've seen before. But you've actually got it stapled to a permanent. Untap a creature. Do we see that quite a bit? Looks like that's something we've had in Magic for at least 362 cards. There's Twiddle. Untap a creature, but on a creature. There's 123, starting out with Elvish Scout, and then things like Quirion Ranger is one I recognise. There's Puppeteer. It's on Godo. And you get it on East High Arcanist. Oh. Karthus, Tyrant of Jund. And you can see actually quite a few here. It's just like a secondary effect, or it's stacked in some way, or it's combined in some way as a result of something else happening. Like that one where it was taking all the creatures, all the dragons, and then untapping them. Oh, it's on a sliver. Going to be featuring a sliver deck at some point in the future, actually. So, on an artwork video. Okay, Embolden. The other thing you'll notice on these Odyssey cards is this sort of tombstone symbol as a way of like a hint to say, oh yeah, this card, interacts with the graveyard in some way, or it has some ability that synergizes with the graveyard. That was a thing they did for a while. Cast from graveyard, damage prevention. So with cast from graveyard, let's have a look again and see when this first became a thing. So according to this, ancestral tribute, so yeah, really became a thing in this period. And you can see, yeah, there's quite a bit of it in this set because of flashback. There we go. So flashback was a big thing in the set. Yeah, I did think about doing the flashback deck actually that was in here. And you can see, look, there's the symbol at the top corner on all of these. So we're going through to Judgment here. We've got it in, turns up in Time Spiral, which often is the case with some of this stuff. Like there was a gap, and then because of all the abilities that got shoehorned into that block, a whole load of stuff like reappeared. You can see that there's Future Sight. Bit of it in well, and again with some of these, it's more the cast from graveyard thing rather than necessarily flashback. Particularly here, you've got Retrace. So you may play this card from its graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to playing to other costs, as opposed to you may play this card from the graveyard for its flashback cost and then you remove it from the game. So same sort of thing where you're, casting from graveyard, but just a different way of doing it. And this is the way it was done in this set. And in, well, this block actually is was it? Let me just see when it started. So it started in Eventide, and these are the mini blocks. So it was actually only in that set, not in the whole mini block. And then we had it appear in, if you remember, Innistrad. We had flashback come back. And also in Dark Ascension. And did it feature much in Avacyn Restored? Because that was a bit of a strange set. No, it didn't. But we got it again, a cast from graveyard thing. This was through Aftermath in Amonkhet. So, yeah. Interesting to see that how, over time that's been put within a ability. So we've had flashback, retrace, aftermath of ways of facilitating the cast from graveyard theme. And then here we have Jumpstart. And then we're back to flashback again. So flashback seems to be the one that comes back. And then we've got Disturb. And so on. So yeah. Popular thing. But it does appear that most of the times it's turned up. Looking at this, it is as a result of flashback. So many of these. And no surprise, because you've got, this is Innistrad Midnight Haunt here. So a lot of them here, around that period. Crimson Vow. Boom. And then some Commander stuff as well. But in different forms here. There's a flashback there. And we've got, well, that actually was just, you may cast this card for your graveyard from its escape cost. So that's not specifically escape, I think. It's just yeah, that I'm not sure with escape whether they were all. Let's just do that, seeing as we're here now. Really gone off of a tangent here. So I need to refresh my memory. Yeah, so okay, so it was a graveyard thing. Exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. You may cast this card from your graveyard. Yes, okay. Huh. Graveyard shenanigans through history. Peak. Look at the. Oh, yeah. So this sort of peak effect was reprinted in 10th edition. Let's see what we have here. So, yep, Clairvoyance. It's a cantrip because you also get to draw a card. Look at opponent's hand. So now, of course, I'm going to have to. So if we do Oracle of look at, but what are we looking at? I mean, I suspect there's lots of stuff here where you're just looking at something, looking at 4 card, looking at your player's library, your library, whatever. So if I do look at player in a funny way, I don't think that is on a card, but oh, there we go. What do we see? Word of command. You may look, okay, so yeah, you may look at player's hand. So there's Clairvoyance. Oh, there's a precognition. There's peak. So look at target player's hand. So that can be any player. Target player's hand, that's been errated to. Oh, that's interesting. They sort of upgraded that. Would help if I could actually spell opponent. That's better. So that is, yeah, target opponent's hand. That's a enchantment. Sage owl. Funny. Oh, index. Just playing around here with the different things just to see what you've got. So yeah, see what bubbles up. So looking at the top. Another owl. It's an owl. There's index again. So that's the library. That's hand. What have we got more recently? It looks like there's quite a number of cards, although some of these just might be coming up because of the combination of the query. Yeah. Trying to work out if I want to rephrase it slightly. It's funny that doesn't really, here they haven't got a specific name for it. I think they might just call it peak or something similar. Peak effect. Cataxian probe, that was it. That's what I was trying to think of. So I had this card in my head and I'm thinking, yeah, I remember that being a thing. So yeah, it's the same card, but with this one, it's you have the option for Phyrexian mana. Yeah. So it's a peak, but with the choice to actually use Phyrexian mana. Classes of Urza. That's actually interesting. I mean, I know there's no card draw on there, I suppose. So, you know, it's just that thing that you often see, don't you, with artifacts where it's often slightly more expensive because it can be played in any deck, but I suppose it doesn't have the draw a card on it as well. So, okay. Moving on. Second Thoughts. Reprinted in Eternal Masters. Remove target attacking creature from the game. Draw a card. For 4 and a white. Well, I'm assuming there's obviously cheaper ways of doing that. So let's us use that as our theme. Oops. I don't want to look at target player's hand, do I? I want to look at the first printing art, because that's what we do here. So yeah, Swords to Plowshares, funnily enough. But what I was interested in is when this is the cheapest way to do it, what do you see? Blazing Hope. Okay, so yeah, we're going to see all the one-offs here, so, but in no particular order. Oh yeah, there's Path to Exile. Okay. But with this, what's instant speed for 5? We get, yeah, get card draw off of it. Bright Reprisal. Destroy target attacking creature. It's target attacking creature. Better than. Attacking. And then what else? 5 CMC. So 5. I'm just curious for like a CMC of 5, of a card that does that. Like, what else do you get usually? So here's Second Thoughts. I'll just put this in. There we go. We got Soul Nova, which is 3 and 2 white. Remove target attacking creature and all equipment attached to it from the game. Astral Confrontation. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each opponent you're attacking. Exile target creature. And then Grey Knight Paragon. 4 and a white for 4/4 with Flash. Rites of Banishment. When Grey Knight Paragon enters the battlefield, destroy target attacking creature. The creature is a demon, exile it instead. So let's just go down the mana curve. So there's only one that does that. There, 3. There's 9 of them. 2 at 2, and then one down here. Now, if I take out the attacking, so it doesn't really care, and then go back up again. So 24, 44 at 2. 76, 3, 4, 67. So a lot of these have got extra. And then where we were, which was 5, we'll back up again. We've got a few more here. So we've got things like Angelic Edict. Yeah, so is here, which creatures or enchantments. Final Reward, which exiles a target creature. So yeah, there's a lot more cards in Magic that will, okay, admittedly they don't have the card draw on them, so they don't have the cantrip, but they won't just deal with an attacking creature. It's also interesting to see, this idea of dealing with an attacking creature is very much something you see in white. So if I was to just say, okay, let's look at just anything that's in what. Whoops. What did I just do there? I think I inadvertently duplicated that probably. So then just in white, sort of going up and down. This is something I like to do sometimes, just go up and down the mana curve and just get an idea where there might be like a bump of those things in Magic. So where is that sort of effect like naturally placed or seems to be mostly placed? Like what casting cost? And of course some of these aren't like necessarily mono white, so you can screen out for that if you're doing that. And then you can go all the way up, just see where the where the big stuff is, what that might have stapled to it, and then the point at which it just disappears completely. And of course you can do greater than as well, that speeds things up a bit. Yeah. Shelter. Target creature you control gains protection with the colour of your choice until end of turn. Draw a card. Yeah, so lot of cantrips here. Protects creature. I'm not sure if we've seen that. I've specifically looked for that before. We'll find out in a moment when I put this in, because it'll come up with an autocomplete. Nope. Oops. Yeah, the wards from way back. And then things like Safe Haven as well. So yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. Oh yeah. Medicine bag. There's Mother of Runes. That's interesting art. Okay. Syncopate. Counter target spell unless its controller pays X. If that spell is countered this way, remove it from the game instead of putting it in the owner's graveyard. Okay, it's been reprinted a few times. Oh, my voice went weird then. Okay, exile counterspell, soft counterspell. It's a Clash of Wheels. It's better than Clash of Wheels. References Dissipate. So, a counterspell that exiles the spell. According to this, according to the tagging, not something we see a lot, and you can see we've looked at it actually before. In another episode. So yeah, Dissipate is one. And that's probably where we looked at it. Quash, Liquefy. Oh yeah, I remember Time Stop. This does it indirect because it's instant speed ending the turn. So, you know, you're removing all spells and abilities from the stack from the game, including that card. The player whose turn it is discards down to his or her maximum hand side. Damage wears off, and this turn, an end of turn effects end. So yeah. Wasn't that reprinted in 10th? Yeah, it was. That's when I first saw it. And then there's Horribly Awry, and there was some exile things in around this time. So yeah, Battle for Zendikar had the sort of Devoid, and there was that period where they were trying to do something interesting with exile, interacting with the exile zone, which is something that up to that point wasn't really a thing. So yeah. Seeing anything else here that... Oh yeah, Sundial of the Infinite. Did I pull one of these? I can't remember. I'll have to look through my collection. Right. Aha. Kirtar's Desire. For some reason I thought I had a deck with this in. I don't know why I have this real good memory of, like, or just not memory, but when I see Odyssey cards, I recognise quite a few. And I'm not sure whether there was a flashback draft online one time with Odyssey. I don't remember opening a ton of these cards. Oh, there we go. So I mentioned earlier about, I think when I was going through the deck, about, you know, pacifism type effect. And there was a cycle. There we go. By the look of things, never reprinted again because the reprints aren't turning up. Just go in here. Yeah, this was only ever put into Odyssey. And yeah, Pacifism, a form of removal that prevents a creature from attacking and usually also from blocking and or activating its abilities. And yeah, we've been here before. Well, if you remember, pacifism is, I don't know if you had the same experience as me. The first time I saw pacifism, I think was, would it be 10th edition? I think. Let's have a look. See if it was printed in 10th. Yeah, there it is. So that's the first time I saw it. And just to me, I don't know, for some reason it looked like fairly modern artwork. But yeah, it's from Mirage. And it's been reprinted like loads of times. There's a good bit of trivia, and I don't know the answer to this. I wonder what the most reprinted Magic card is through Magic's history. I wonder if this is a close contender for that. I know, I always remember like they made this big thing about core set reprints, and I don't know whether the last thing to disappear from a core set where it had been reprinted since, you know, original alpha. There was a particular card, was it Giant Spider, something like that, which had continually been reprinted in the core set. But yeah, if anybody knows the answer, don't do a ton of research, just off the top of their head, like what's the most like reprinted card in Magic's history? I'd be curious to know, and whether or not pacifism is indeed up there with them. Think tank, at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You know, put that card into your graveyard. So another one of a few ways of getting stuff in the graveyard for this deck. So definitely the primary way of getting stuff in the graveyard is just through you putting stuff in front of your opponent's creatures and getting it in that way. A surveil effect. We have cards that you look at the top, so many cards in your library, and then put some into the graveyard. So a form of controlled self-mill. Okay. So crops up in Portal 3 Kingdoms as an idea. And we've got I Spy. Again, in this, I've got to take a look at this Starter 1999 product, I think. Does anybody have particular memories of this? I mean, I've seen it before, but I seem to always forget about that, you know, those decks from that period, like starter decks from that period. Even though I've seen quite a number of obviously starter product over the years, that one I just forget about. You know, got some pirates, bit of piratey surveil action. 93 cards. Actually, I should have done that. It's probably been around before Woo Spy. Oh, let's put the order in slightly differently. Okay. Okay, interesting hat, or goggles, or whatever. Goggles stroke hat. That's my goggles toque. And then finally this one, Skycloud Egg. So this looks to me like this must be part of a cycle. And indeed it is. So there was a cycle of eggs. Looks like they've never been reprinted. And then, yeah, so what were they? This would be allied colours. So one for each of the allied colours. So one to cast, but two to activate, and then you tap them, sack them, and then you get to generate 2 mana of the 2 colours. It's a nice cycle though. Just the artwork, I mean. and I'm sure we must have looked at mana eggs before. So yeah, just that flashed up a bit quick. Let me just go back here. So mana rocks have to be sacrificed to add mana. They may ramp or merely filter, so they do include stuff that filters mana. So, yep. Black Lotus. Then discarded. Got Lotus Petal, Lotus Blossom, Black Lotus. These Ramos ones as well. So they were in Mercadian Mask. So they were in the previous set, and they just did one sort of specific colour of mana, but they were much more expensive to cast, and you could just tap them regularly as well. So that was why. With these, in order to get the mana out, you have to actually destroy them, tap them and sacrifice them. More recently, we've got things like, I say more recently, so Conflux. What is the most recent stuff? So Dire Mimic. Oh yeah, Jeweled Lotus. I'm just looking for things that I specifically remember, and Kaleidostone and Lotus Bloom and Chromatic Star. Things that I tend to remember more than anything else, I think. So there we have it. That's the end of that. So thanks once again for watching. That was certainly an interesting deck to look at with the cards. I mean, there was a lot of stuff to get through, but took us down lots of different interesting rabbit holes. And yeah, bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.